As we've been flipping through the dictionary of our faith, going down that lexicon of sacred words that belong to the vocabulary of the church, one word that I remember hearing said over and over again, particularly when I was growing up in the church, is the word lost. That is one of the vocabulary terms of our faith. And it comes from primarily that parable of the prodigal son that talks about having been lost and then having been found, where the youngest brother goes to his father and asks for his inheritance early because he wants to leave. He wants to see his family's home in his rear view mirror. So he takes this inheritance and he goes elsewhere to live the life he's always wanted to live. But it says that he wasted this inheritance on dissolute living, choices and decisions that were harmful to him and probably harmful to others. And he finds himself hitting rock bottom at a place where he had nowhere else to turn, so he decided to return home. As hard as that felt, and as difficult as he envisioned that to be, and as he was walking towards his childhood home, about the time he reached his mailbox, as he was trying to prepare that speech of what he was going to tell his father, he looks up and he sees his father running out to him, fully embracing him and welcoming him home. And not only that, he planned and prepared a party. He invited all the neighbors over. He wanted to celebrate his son returning home, despite what had happened. There was no question that in his heart he was overjoyed. He said, "My son who was dead is now alive. My son who was lost is now found." And that word has been used to describe following the ways of Jesus, a sense of change in our lives, a moment of conversion where things shift. Where we were dead, we're now alive. Where we were lost, we're now found. That for this loving parent, he was celebrating the return of a loved one, the relief of a parent's worry, the fulfillment of what is most good. And more times than not, that parable has been titled The Parable of the Prodigal Son. But perhaps we could write a title from the perspective of everyone in the story. It could also be The Parable of the Loving Father, or The Parable of the Stern Older Brother. Because when the father gathered everyone together, inviting the neighbors over to celebrate the return of his youngest son, his oldest son stood outside, unwilling to join the party, unable to feel the celebration. That the older brother felt that he was in the right and his younger brother was in the wrong. That his younger brother was being rewarded with a party where the older brother never was. So why not throw the older brother a party? The father says, "You've always been with me. You've always stood by my side." So the older brother was resentful because he did not think the party was something his younger brother deserved. That he did not look through the lens of love when he saw what was happening. And if we say the word lost in the wrong way, With an incorrect emphasis, we can create this false dichotomy between the lost and the found, that everyone is in either category. There is this clear sense of division. But if we say it that way, we can end up standing with the older brother outside of the celebration. That the older brother is outside where everybody else is on the inside. But the older brother thinks he's the one who is right. So he's the one on the inside, and everyone else who is wrong stands on the outside. But if we say the word lost in the wrong way, thinking that we're the ones on the inside, those who are found, and everybody else is standing on the outside, that they are the ones who are lost, we can end up standing outside God's celebration and grace with the older brother. Because the love of the Father, which represents the love of God, is for everyone. The younger brother, the older brother, all of the neighbors who joined in, that everyone was invited. Everyone is loved. Everyone is a child of God. And there are two other parables about being lost. That right there near the parable of the prodigal son, we also find the parable of the lost sheep, where the shepherd, taking care of 100 sheep in the flock, looks up and one of the sheep are missing. So the shepherd leaves the 99 where they may not be safe and goes to find the one that is lost. Well, that is an odd sort of math, where the one is more important than the 99. But that is the equation of love. And then you have the parable of the lost coin, where a woman who has 10 coins finds that one of the coins is missing. So she stays up all night, turning the house inside out, sweeping every corner of every room, trying to find it. And when she does, there's a celebration. But if time is money, she wasted a lot of time looking for a little bit of money. But again, that is the equation of God's love. We oftentimes equate lostness with sinfulness. And this might be the case in the story of the prodigal son. But it is not the case in the parable of the lost sheep or the parable of the lost coin, that a sheep does not sin, a coin does not sin. They were simply lost. As Jonathan Merritt writes, lostness is the state of being separated from the community and in need of reconciliation. But Jesus does not equate it here with evil or sinfulness. Instead, Jesus gives us a sweeping picture of lostness that encompasses all who wonder or wander. That we shouldn't say the word lost with a tinge of judgment, as if it means those who have sinned or who are wayward. It can lead to that false dichotomy to where there is the lost and the found, and we end up standing with the older brother on the outside of the celebration, even though we feel we are right, and we are the ones standing on the inside. That we might go back and reread this parable of the prodigal son differently. where at the end of the parable, it might not be the younger son who is lost. It might be the older brother that he cannot celebrate because there is too much of a self-focus. There are blinders on as he is so worried about being right and how others are wrong that he misses the bigger picture. That he's so concerned with keeping score that he loses the game. That the lost, as Merritt writes, includes the outsider and the insider, the rule breaker and the rule follower, those who know they are lost and those who do not realize they are. That if we are all lost in different ways and at different times, instead of creating a false dichotomy, we can all embrace one another to find our way together. That it prevents us from patronizing anyone that we might assume is lost, and it keeps us from elevating ourselves as those who are found. That instead, we keep listening for God's presence, seeking God's grace, and discovering God running out to us. Amen.